Started. Okay, so we are diving into alignment exploration for February. As much as time seems to be flying like all the time, February felt like 5 years. I don't know if that's the same for you guys. So last month I mentioned we were going to be talking about 11 this month, and I realized that 11 is a number that really might not apply to everyone. However, there's the energy connected to 11 that does apply to everyone and is really an essential fuel when it comes to business and moving forward. So that is why I shifted the focus to talk about inspiration, because inspiration is a huge aspect of 11, but at the same time, it applies to like every other number that we have. So I wanted to dive into this. Recently, I basically downloaded a new process, which Linda and Kim saw. Not a process. Hello, Linda. It's like a scientific formula that is from my engineering days that applies to whenever you want to start creating forward movement and momentum. And we're not going to go into all of it today, but I will say that and it's basically taking a look at the forces that are sort of acting upon you that are either keeping you stuck and not moving or keeping you going at the same speed. And if you want to change the speed, or if you want to actually move, if you haven't been moving, then you want to up the forces that are moving it forward. So with that, one of them, I think of the visual of a train. So when you think of a train, what starts the train moving or gets the train moving faster is the engine. And so that's one of the forces that we have power over. And there's three different parts to the force of the engine that helps you move forward faster. One of them is inspiration. So that's what we're talking about here today. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to be inspired. Like, how can we tap into inspiration because that feels good? We're talking about tapping into an energy that can help move you forward, help speed you up, or help get you moving if you've been stagnant or stalled. So it's a pretty cool energy to work with. Also, there's endless forms of how inspiration can look. And so I want to spend some time here today diving into what it can look like depending on the numbers that you have, because inspiration can be anywhere. And we all have our sort of, like, if you think of your 7 key gifts, we have our sort of like profile of what works best for us. And so we can look at the numbers individually and at the same time, maybe start to open our creativity and ideas to what inspiration could look like that is the most effective for us if we consider all of our gifts. So I'm already getting flashes as I just finished saying that. So yeah, with that again, so not that, we'll look at 11, but it's not the specific focus. We're looking at inspiration as a fuel to help move us forward and propel us forward with energy that is something that's inside of us. It's not something that is outside of us. I mean, it can come from outside, but the energy of inspiration happens within us and helps propel us. So with that, I thought we would just dive into the numbers and see what inspiration could look like. And what I'd love to do is to have some discussion around each of these. So because I know each of us has a combination of these numbers, to start thinking for ourselves how we can be tapping into inspiration that can help move us forward. And maybe even before we begin, let's maybe take a moment to reflect on what are your sort of standard, do you tap into inspiration on a regular basis? Things that inspire you, things that call you into taking steps that you haven't taken before, or just have you feeling good. So do you tap into inspiration regularly? And if so, what are some of your go-to ways? And maybe we'll start off by that, and that can kick off the conversation. And then we'll dive into each of the numbers to see if we can't come up with more ways. I know sometimes there's like one thing that you can do that will, like, I know there's a couple things for me that are create so much inspiration. And if I think about those, it's one thing to be like, oh, if I do this, I'm inspired. It's another to be like, okay, so that's important. Like this really is effective. And then where can I bring that into my day or my week, for example? So maybe we'll take a quick share. You can share how, like if you tap into inspiration on a regular basis, and whether you do or don't, what's sort of like your go-to to get inspired? And when I think inspired, it's like being moved from the inside. Even if, like for me, one of my favorite ways is I've got like a bunch of books that I have near me, and I open a book to a random page, and that's one of my best forms of inspiration, and I do that pretty much every morning. So that's an example, sharing from my own experience. I'd love to just open it up and see if anyone wants to share what they have.
This is Lisa, I could share.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's different types of inspiration. So like if I want to be inspired to do some stuff around work, there's a way that I go about it. If I want to be inspired to move my body or exercise, or I want to be inspired to be present, I don't know. So I feel like there's you having me realize that there's different things that I do to be inspired to do different things. I don't know if it's different types of inspiration, but just like what's the end goal of getting inspired? I don't know. Does that make sense?
I love it. Well, and welcome Lisa's 8. So fun. I love it. I love this. This is already just opening up a really cool conversation around what forms of inspiration and for what purpose. So yes. So I have talked about the inspiration that moves you forward in your business. However, even doing things with our body and exercise can help us in our business. So so whatever you feel drawn to focus on, and maybe even let's start with that. Maybe if you want to, everyone can put their intention for what they'd like to have inspiration around, or because there's some areas where we're just not as inspired, right? And we could use a little boost. And maybe it's not our entire business. Maybe it's around a specific aspect of it. If we pause for a moment and think about the different areas of your business or your life, whatever you feel drawn to, what could use some inspiration, perhaps on a regular basis? So do you have an area, Lisa?
So your question is, what could use inspiration on a regular basis?
Yeah. What could really help you move forward in your business that, if you infuse a little inspiration, it would help?
I think doing any kind of video. So I think Facebook Live and recording videos, I think I realized are sort of the same energetic for me. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have, live, but it just feels like I need to kind of muster up the same sort of energy.
Right.
And I think because that feels so easy, or like it is something that's easy for me when I am inspired, I think it would be beneficial to do that on the regular.
I love it. This is just how you articulated that. It has like the different pieces showing up. So yes, we've got lots of background noise. Oh, in where you are. Okay, I'll come back to that. But I love this because if we really look at it, what you're talking about, what you mentioned is when we are inspired, we tend to just do stuff. And so that's the perfect way to articulate what I was saying before. It's like, when we're inspired, we just go do it. So yes, infusing intentionally some inspiration around doing videos, doing Facebook Lives, recording videos. If you were able to be in an inspired place around that, you would obviously do more, and that would obviously help your business move forward. So really cool. I love it. So let's keep the share going around the specific area, or if you have one, or it can just be in general. Oh, did you share in here? Linda, feel like I'm often inspired, almost always inspired, but don't go looking for it. It does make me curious what it would look like if I did go looking for it. Linda, I love it. The quadruple fish are always inspired by something. Lots of background noise. Oh yeah, so to shift into inspiration for my business, I do spiritual stuff daily. So you really draw on your 7. Cards, drawing, time alone, listening to visualizations, ask questions and tune into inner wisdom. I read stuff I wrote in the past to remember how much I love to write. I love inspirational videos from others too. Cool. Linda, not always inspired in important areas. Okay, so what are the important areas? So for Lisa, we've got doing videos. Sandra, Kim, Linda, would you like to share which area?
Well, I'm always inspired around content, right? So I love creating content. I just love it. And I'm always inspired. I always have 4 more ideas than I have time to work on.
Totally.
And I can see where I don't feel inspired always is to connect with people.
Right.
To put a call to action at the end of my stuff, you know,
Yeah.
posts, videos, whatever.
Right.
Those are probably, work on my purpose pathways.
Yes.
Yeah, those are probably the 3 big ones where I noticed I don't feel inspiration, and I don't actually look for inspiration there.
Right.
Because of all that Pisces, I just assume, right, like the inspiration will come.
Right.
But yeah, not really.
Not so much over there. These 3. Yes. Cool. I love it.
I relate to Linda around the task completion, and I find very little inspiration around the doer kind of stuff. I relate to what Kim was saying in terms of spiritual stuff with visualizations and videos, and I'm constantly reading and watching those kind of things to get myself inspired personally. But yeah, with the business, with the practical to do things, I've yet to really figure out what that inspiration could be.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and yeah, interesting. I'm saying interesting because Sandra, you got 3 5s, which have loads of inspiration in them, but I can see where they could be inspiring you to like grow rather than move.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks. And Kim, did you want to add?
Yeah, it's just interesting because I do find that because I have a lot of 4, I can get caught up in the tasks and the doing and make it way more complicated than it needs to be. Because it feels good to check off the boxes, but then sometimes I'm adding way too many boxes that don't need to be there.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. I see inspiration in different ways depending on which number I'm tapped into. So yeah, cool.
Totally. Yeah. And then is there a specific area you want more inspiration around?
Yeah, I think it's the sales and marketing pieces, the 8, following through on making offers and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. All right. So this is awesome. Lots to work with. Okay. And we've got already a bunch of examples, and it's interesting. We've got like Sandra and Linda who are like constantly inspired, but not necessarily in the ways that will move things forward. and then we've got Kim and Lisa talking about, well, Kim and Lisa, you've got the 8s that are like, you got the 8 and Lisa's got the 8, Kim's got the 4s. I love how you articulated it because 4s are naturally inspired to check off the to-do list. What a gift. Don't I wish I had that sometimes. A lot of the times. Yeah, so, and it can look really different. So yeah, so let's start diving in. And we're gonna go through all the numbers. We'll do some sharing as we go through. We're gonna go through all the numbers and really see what we come up with and try and think outside the box. It's already cool to see we have a little comfort zone with our inspiration. I'm noticing, which is really cool to see because perhaps we can cultivate them in other places, the inspiration in other places that can really help in the areas that matter most. Okay, so let's start with 1. So I think everyone except Linda has a 1. And whoever's watching the recording, you know if it's a 1 or not. we got one. So let's like dive into the energy of one for a moment and think of inspiration. Like what instantly comes to my mind is I remember watching this movie. What's it called? Kiki. Has anyone seen that? Kanjiki. If you ever want to boost your one, watch that video. Watch that movie. It's so good. Anyway, it's like this. It's like this guy who's doing something that's never been done before and trying to prove something that he believes that everyone thinks he's crazy. You know, so one is like the pioneer, the explorer, going off into new territory. So they might be inspired by the new and the fresh, to do things that haven't been done before, to create something that's maybe outside the box, to create something new. And so I just remember it was my old friend Karen and I tested living in Canmore. This was like a long time ago, 6 years ago. And we went to this little movie night where there's this little movie theater here. I don't know if it's still here. And they played Kentucky. And then we were driving home, Karen and I, and we were so inspired and like on fire. Our ones were like full blast. And we went to tell my boyfriend about it at the time, boyfriend at the time, and then went back and watched it again. So anything that ignites confidence and power and possibility is one. So does anyone, like when you think about that, does that apply to anyone? And what might we do other than watch Kentucky to activate this energy? You know what? Actually, I love it. I think the audio is getting worse. It's so weird. I don't know what's happening. I might need to move to my phone. I don't know if it's me or I'm the only one not muted. Thanks for letting me know, Sandra. I have no idea what's going on. Only if I talk. I will stop talking. Okay, let me see if I can pop off and pop back on. You guys should be able to stay here. Okay, am I okay? Yeah, I'm okay? Okay, somebody give me a visual, like, it's not working if it suddenly goes weird. Okay, so you think we're good. I have no idea. Mercury? Can we blame it on Mercury? We'll just blame it on Mercury retrograde. Okay, yeah. So back to where we are. So one, so am I still okay? I feel all like, am I good? When I talk, can you, okay. Sorry, ish. Oh my God. Okay, maybe I should just go on my phone. Hang on one sec. This might be the best option because I don't know what's causing it. Okay, let's see if I can get this sorted. I'm a receiver and transmitter of some kind of waves. Oh my God. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay, so let's see if this works. Oh, I think I can hear it myself now. Oh God, now I'm echoing. Yes. Okay. Oh my God, is this better?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
way better.
What the hell? I have no idea.
It was like some sort of space movie, honestly, where it's like picking up transmissions and you could hear these like faint little voices and echoes, and it was crazy.
Oh my God, I could hear it when I put the headphones in. I'm like, what? Okay, transmission happening.
There we go.
Okay. Well, we'll apparently need some kind of spacey transmission. Okay, so we're back, and I've got you guys here too, so I can see you more easily. Okay, so we are back. Oh my God. Okay, so one. We're still talking about one. We are talking about adventures of going beyond what existed before, which, yeah, is space, the final frontier. Where does that come from? I'm not a spacey person. Okay, so we're back.
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Thank you. Right. It's coming back to me. Okay.
The first pioneer, it all relates.
There you go.
There you go. Number one is Star Trek, yeah.
Number one, we'll all remember space and, yes, explorations. Okay, so let's think about one in terms of the specific area you're wanting to have inspiration around, or just in terms of one in general, if you feel like this could benefit you. What are some ways to tap into the energy of one? I shared one, which is to watch inspiring movies, and like Kentucky's one, but I know for myself, when I watch inspirational true story movies, my one, it like wakes up and comes alive. So that's an example, but of course we're not going to be watching movies all day, every day. So anyone else, ideas for inspiration through one, the fresh and the new, doing things that haven't been done before. Go ahead and just.
For me, it's Lisa, and I won't be able to raise my hand because I'm walking.
Yeah, okay.
It is doing something. I don't know if you're allowed to do the thing that you want to be inspired to do, but like doing something that I feel like might be adventurous, you know? And it doesn't even need to be that adventurous, but it just feels like, ooh, you know, this is something new. I don't do this a lot, or, you know, and then it kind of inspires more of that.
Cool. I love that. And even like looking for the adventurous element of what we're doing. Yeah, cool. I love this. Doing something adventurous, going beyond our comfort zone.
I think like sharing about it.
Right.
Because I find that like that's how I make things real, is to share. For me.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Yeah, that's starting to tap into the 2 and the 6 and the 3 as well. Sharing about it. Cool. All right. Anyone else?
I think I'm like you in terms of motivation from something big. Like I know last year when I went to this conference in Miami that had 35,000 people there, and they were all visionaries and leaders, and it was infectious. And it really, yeah, it's like, oh crap, I want to do something like that. So for me, I feel like to get my one really inspired, I need something really kind of big and moving, like you said with that movie, something that's kind of epic to kind of be like, fuel me into like, yeah, there's the possibilities and let's do it kind of thing.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's great. And being involved with that, or even remembering experiences like that, can help activate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just remember being back in the room, 35,000 people with leaders around. Anything that involves leaders, and seeking out people as well who have ones. So I've been, some of you know because I passed it on intentionally to you, I've got like pulled into Steve Harvey. He's got these like motivational videos, and they're so good.
He was one of the speakers.
Oh my God, that's awesome. This is great. I was at the gym and I pocket sent Lisa one. I have no idea how that happened. Like, I have no idea. So anyway, so I think most of us have seen those, at least one of them. But he's got a 1 and you can see it. I was watching one. I listen to it at the gym sometimes and I stick it in my pocket, which is why I guess I can pocket dial. But there's one yesterday, I think it was newly released, and he was talking about when he was on his grandfather's farm. And he's like talking about planting the seeds and like he's got so much 1, you can hear it and you can feel it, and confidence and belief, leadership. So starting to think of, who do you follow? Who do you want to be exposed to? If you want to activate your 1, how can you activate that? Oprah's someone else who has a 1. Steve Jobs has a 1. So reading, what do you call them? Autobiographies? I don't know. It's not coming to my mind right now. Reading people's stories of people who've done things different and done things that haven't been done before. That could be really powerful as well. Cool. And also anything that helps you feel more confident. So does anyone have something they do that helps them feel more confident?
I have a technique I learned from a Tony Robbins event where you make a move, like it's literally a power move. So it's got some of that NLP to it. So it's like literally if I stand there and make my move, it's like it takes me right into that energy like instantly. And it's just like this super power move kind of thing that you're just like, haha. So
right. Cool. You're not going to show us your move?
Not today.
Okay. Okay. I remember in Grey's Anatomy they did one, and they were just like this.
Yeah.
Like before surgery, and they look up. So I think that's one.
There's physiology and psychology behind that Superman pose. Like there's literally, it's fun, but there's actually physiology that happens with that.
Well, it makes sense. Like, yeah, there's body stuff. I took some body stuff from this one lady, and it's just so obvious when you like, yeah, watching our posture. Like if we're hunched over like this, we're not going to feel very confident. If we're actually even just sitting up taller or being in the Superman pose or whatever it is. Yeah, totally. Watching our posture. Cool. Another thing that can help with confidence, like inspiring confidence, is to have a collection of stories, like past client testimonials, current client successes, that you can bring to mind. That can help inspire confidence as well. And anything else that you can think of. So also, it's what inspires personal power. So coming back to the physical thing, one of the things with one is if you are in your personal power and in your power in your body, that can create inspiration. It's like coming from your inside. So doing some kind, like going for a walk. If you need to activate your one, I've been focusing on activating my one for quite a long time now because it's a significant, really important one that I need to be activating. And when I go to the gym, my one wakes up. And so that's a very simple thing to do to activate the energy of power in your one. All right, cool. So let's move on to 2. So 2 is a very different kind of inspiration. It's the kind of inspiration, like Lisa, when you're like, tell people about it. It's like even telling one person something. Or I remember when I was like in high school and stuff, we'd go for coffee, and it was inspiring to just talk with my friends, and for like hours we would just talk. So there's this energy of connection and conversation that can inspire, right? Which is different than just something from within. And I know, Linda, you spoke to this, that it would be really cool to be inspired to be connecting with people. So let's see if we can dive into some ways to activate the inspiration as it relates to 2, especially, well, for some of us who have strong 2, I'm saying some of us as though my two's strong. I guess it's pretty strong, but it's also my biggest challenge. So not quite just a strength there. So for those who have strong two, what are ways that you activate it? Or perhaps you don't have a two and you'd really like to activate it. Coffee with a friend.
Yeah, it's Kim. I tend to want to retreat from people, but I'm noticing that I just started attending a really small group. There's 4 of us where we get together once a month as like a girls' night, and I find that so inspiring, and I just feel so good after. So I think for me, it took a long time to find my people, but once I did, I was like, oh. So it's like sharing and connecting with coffee or in person with the right people, I think is important for me, because before it just wasn't happening, and I just thought, oh, I'll just stay home then.
Right. And you actually sought it out, or it somehow came together, which is really cool. Like there's this.
Yeah, it did. It was really cool how it just all came together. Yeah.
And yeah, I love this. This is really great. And for those who have 4, in person is like such a deeper level. It is for everybody, but when you have 4, it's even more important. So I love this with the right people. And it's a cool thought, because you don't need to connect with, I mean, if you have a conversation with the wrong person, it's not inspiring at all, right? So I just love this, Kim. Thanks for sharing. Copy this little small group that you're getting together regularly. And when I think of 2, it is more intimate. It's not like 6 is like the community that you're in, and it can be a bigger number of people. But with 2, it's got more intimacy to it. So you know these like it's you and 3 others, I guess, or there's 4 of you. So there's a connection there that's deeper than just connecting with anyone random. Same thing, whether it's in person or virtually, connecting one-on-one really activates the energy of being seen, of not being alone in what you're going through. That's the energy of 2. Yeah, cool. And hearing about someone else, like, oh my God, I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't just stay home too much and isolate a little too much here, but the energy of 2, it gets us beyond ourselves. We can be in our little bubbles, obsessed with whatever is in our mind and in our world. And when we get into the energy of 2, there's someone else there. We can actually see someone else and take the focus off of us, which can give a little space for creativity to come in as well. Cool. Anything anyone else has? Inspiration of 2. The wheels are turning, Linda.
Well, I also think of 2, as the emotional sensitivity piece as well. So
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just have a nudge to check in with someone. How's it going? What's happening? And also, I think sharing a feeling or something that is around or came from your intuition can activate that as well.
Cool. I love this. This is really powerful, this idea of checking in. I saw, this is probably synchronistic, but if whoever was on the 2 call, that was so powerful. Like there's so much power in 2 and relationships and connecting. So I don't think we want to like minimize this at all. But yeah, it was yesterday or the day before, I saw this guy posted in Facebook about the importance of relationships, and he was suggesting to someone who had commented to spend 10 minutes once a week or 10 minutes per day, I can't remember what it was, connecting and just reaching out to people. And I mean, I did this earlier today. It's someone's birthday and I'm like, oh my God, I'm talked to you in a while. How's it going? And there's this little connection and we'll catch up sometime. So yeah, reaching out. So that's an example of something that you could have as a part of your week or your day where you're tapping into the two. And as soon as you think, okay, well, it's my connection time, my connecting time is coming up soon. Who do I feel like connecting with? The people can start coming to mind. This is the kind of thing where if we prioritize that, and if we know that's going to help us in our business, then like, I don't know, there's something I've been doing in the last year where it's like having like a nighttime ritual where it's like, okay, because I've had insomnia at different points in time. So like having a sleep ritual. So it's like, this is the sequence of events before I go to sleep. And it just like trains my body to just, okay, we're going to sleep now. And it works really, really well. Same thing for any kind of ritual that we have. So if we know it's connecting time, ideally you put that in your most extroverted energy part of your day. So I would not put it at like 7 a.m. for me, because that will not be compatible. So what is your most connected time? Like for me, it's the afternoon. I feel like reaching out to people, I almost always do. So why not have a little time there? And if it's a part of your day, every day, or once a week or twice a week, then you get used to it. You come to expect it and you will naturally be inspired to do that. Cool. All right. Let's move on to 3.
That. It's really good.
Go ahead. Yeah. Like, I just think.
I was just saying, I really love that. Just the practical application of 2. And yeah, thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's really, well, and thanks to the guy who posted. I would not have thought of that. Yeah, so we've talked about the power of 2. If you haven't seen the 2 recording of this alignment exploration call, it was freaking powerful. It was like a transmission. I don't even know what happened. It was just like, boom, magic was happening. It was leading up to it. And it was just so powerful. The energy of 2 and how it can really help us in our business and move our business forward. So if you think about the relationships that you have, with clients, past clients, friends, even past mentors, whoever, just having a little conversation now and then, having a little reach out, what would that do to your business? Like there might be speaking opportunities that come up. Like who knows what's gonna happen there? Really cool. All right. Yeah. There's just this energy of 2 feels important because I know that there's a number here, including myself, who tend to just like be in our little bubble. So yeah, this regular practice of being in connection feels really significant. And just thinking of being aware of other people. So what's going on for you? That care that Linda was talking about, like what's going on for you, and just reaching out and then having a back and forth. It's like, hey, this is going on for me. You can share what's exciting in your world. You never know what connections could happen with that person, or they might have another connection they want to introduce you to, right? That could inspire a whole bunch of new things, which is really cool. Let's move on to 3. So 3 is inspiring in itself. So if you activate 3, often you're just going to start feeling inspired. Of course, there's different aspects to 3. 3 can be social. 3 can be inspiration on its own. 3 is the power and the energy of connecting with an audience. And so how can we activate this energy of 3? So when you're speaking, when you have 3 and you're speaking, there's like inspiration comes in and it goes out your mouth and people hear it. So how can we activate this energy? So this is specifically something that Lisa had mentioned. This is something that you'll want to be tapping into. Ideally would be your 3 to be doing more Facebook Lives and videos. So when you're in the 3, the inspiration tends to just come. But how can we activate that beforehand? So when I think about, I'm just thinking about this aspect of like being inspired and sharing the inspiration, like sharing a message to an audience or to a future audience. Because if you record a video, yeah, you might not have someone on the other end in that moment, but someone's going to be watching it. So how can we activate this energy of inspiration as it relates to 3? I've got a couple ideas and then we'll go around. So one of the things that comes to my mind is, what do I feel like sharing? So asking that powerful question, what do I feel like sharing? So what that does is it puts you in touch with the people who would be receiving it, right? Because it's typically when you ask that question, it's tapped into higher purpose. What we feel like is very often what people need. So what do I feel like sharing? What is a message I need to hear that others need to hear as well, that I feel like sharing? There's an energy of purpose behind 3, like that the message that comes through is for people. So taking a moment I'm picturing you, Lisa, just like being on your own and picturing or asking to receive insight on who needs my message today, or who needs a message from me. Because they can be representative of other people who need it. They can help activate that energy. So tapping into the who it's for. So that's sort of activating this type of inspiration, where it activates the inspiration that you receive, that you then share. Anyone else have any thoughts on how you can activate that particular aspect? And then we can go on to the other parts of 3.
There's that, like the catalyst part 2, where, so if I'm like, oh, I should do a live today in my group, I'll think about, how do I want to get them riled up? Like, what do I want to make them think about? What can I put out there that will make them think or potentially see something from a different point of view? What can I say that they'll argue with? like not too long ago, I did one about positivity is bullshit.
Love it.
Yeah, I like to have, I like to like, what would engage them? What would make them have an opinion, or go, like, I never thought of it that way.
Cool. I love it. Thanks, Linda. These are great. Anyone else activating this part of the 3? There's other aspects of 3 that we can activate. But let's just see if there's any more here.
This is more of like a physical representation, but I noticed, because I do love to do video and Facebook Lives, but I noticed as I'm setting up my space and the light, like there's something about like my light, when I turn it on, I feel like I can anchor to that now, of that's something I can do to tell my body it's go time, So when I turn on my my big light for the recording. So
Cool.
yeah, I like just having the physical representation too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Really cool. I'm thinking for you, just along the terms of how you think, like having something that reminds you of it. Like I've got this like little stone that's like representative of one of my core 4. I did Kim's core 4 a little while ago. And literally I just like put it in my hand, I swear, and like I start receiving inspiration. Partly because it's connecting me to that guide, but also partly because it's just reminding me of that energy of receiving. So
Yeah,
having some type of object. Yeah. Because
yeah,
before you even had the
that's so
lights.
important. Yeah, it's like what object could represent the energy that you want to create, or the space that you want to create in the message, or even the message itself. And I'm so tangible. I love that, like having some sort of physical object all the time to represent different things. Yeah, works for me anyway.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe we'll pause for a moment, because that taps into like all of them. I mean, it's very 4, but it can be representative. So if you think about the actions you want to take, what is like a physical object that you can this is like 4. We're kind of moving into 4. We'll get into that more in a second. But what is an anchor? Like an object that can help anchor that energy of it? That's a great question to start to think about. Yeah, cool. Can reflect more on that. Okay, cool. And anyone else about this aspect of 3 before we go into the other aspects of 3?
We're talking about 3 in expression, and I have a tickle cough.
Oh God.
Thanks, energy. I really like that idea of the anchor.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used that specifically with an object. I've done that with sort of other things, but yeah, thank you. I like that idea.
Cool. Yeah. Visuals. I'm just thinking of your drawings there, Sandra. Like those are anchors as well. Cool. I'm just like starting to look around at things. Okay, I love it. Okay. Moving on to other aspects of 3. So there is other aspects of 3 that the thing is with 3, with all of our gifts, if we activate one part, it starts to tend to activate other parts, right? Once our 3 wakes up in this one area, then the other area starts to wake up. So for those of us who are more introverted, being out around people can activate 3, right? So going to the grocery store, when I go to the gym, there are people there. So it has me out of my bubble and around people. So there's the social aspect that we can activate. Also joy and fun. So singing, dancing. What do you do for fun? The other night I was just like, I had like this really hard experience that day. And I'm like, I need some joy. And so one of my most joyful things that I ever do is bake, which I just only learned about this year. And so I made brownies and they're freaking amazing. And I had so much joy that was like infused into that moment where there wasn't joy before. So what's something you can do that brings about joy? Because I'm just staring at Lisa's name. So even thinking about if you do something that brings about joy, it's just, I don't know why I thought of it when I was looking at you, Lisa, but when the joy is there, it's almost like it wants to spill over and be shared, right? That's the energy of 3.
Right. Yeah, I can connect with that.
Cool.
Yeah. I also like Linda's talking about how like wanting to incite argument or be contrary, my words. That could spill over too.
Right. Yeah, I love it. So asking the questions that activate that contrary energy, which also probably sparks joy at the same time. A different kind of joy. Oh, the rebel joy.
It's funny, when I think about joy and sparking joy, I don't connect with then wanting to share it like in a video or something. Like I feel like it inspires me to reach out to the people I care about.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah.
That's good to know. When I'm enthusiastic, I feel like connecting and sharing with people I don't know. Where, yeah, that's so interesting. That's really cool to notice that. Huh.
Yeah, I kind of feel like when I do my videos and stuff, it's more serious. I'm playful because that's just who I am, but the energy that I'm feeling in this moment is kind of more like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm sharing joy. I feel like I'm sharing like activation.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm really feeling your one, even just as you're contemplating what it is that you're sharing. And that influencer energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think joy is on its way there. Like maybe, like, I feel like that's part of what I'm connecting with on this call is like, there's like a series of things. Because like, if I'm supposed to go live and I'm not feeling it, probably, activating joy would not be bad. Maybe it would lead me to, it'd be like a step along the way. I don't know.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. And I like thinking of it in steps too. Like joy is just good for everything. Mm-hmm. But then what's the next step that would help bring you more towards connecting with people and getting onto a video? You know, like what would be a next, and maybe it's not even, maybe it's not 3, but maybe there is 3 here. Maybe there is joy that's.
Well, I really resonated with the question that you gave, which was, you know, what is it that I need to share or something?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. What do I feel like sharing?
yeah. There was another question of like, what was the other question? I think you gave like 2 questions. It was something about, what do people need to know? Or
Oh, what do people need to hear? Yeah. Something like
Yeah.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do they need to hear from me? What is
Yeah,
the
I feel
message
like-
I have to share?
Yeah. I feel like if I'm on in a joy bubble and then I think about that, then I think it could lead to the outward expression.
Right. Cool. Yeah. I wonder, like, joy and then connecting to the message or the people kind of sounds like a part of it that we can tap into that would then bring it through. Yeah. Interesting to play with. For sure. Huh. It's so, I'm just still like, wait, what? Isn't joy the thing that makes you want to share it? It's just obviously, it's just so obvious in this moment that that's a part of my makeup. Like the joy happens and then the sharing. Really cool to realize, right? It doesn't, that's not necessarily always the case. So perhaps there's like a couple steps. Huh. All right. Any other thoughts?
Another thing I thought of feeling is I have this little like quote file, and I like to collect quotes from Rebels, not surprisingly. And I'll read a few of those, or and that can get me yeah, for me it's not joy, it's more that catalyst, that
Yeah.
purpose, that or just straight up expression, right? Like I just have something to say and I want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But the quotes can, like every time I read a Muhammad Ali quote, I just want to go live, right? Just,
Oh, cool.
you know, say whatever's on my mind.
Yeah, this is really great. Thanks, Linda. It's reminding me of you, Lisa, that like, what's the energy that, like, maybe there's just an energy to the messages you're putting out right now. Like, it's clear what Linda's are, right? We've got that. That's awesome. So then for Linda, it's like tapping into that energy, whatever the heck way that is. And for you, Lisa, maybe joy is not at all the energy right now of your messages. What is the energy of it, and how can you tap into that to help activate the part of you that wants to share?
Okay. Think that.
Yeah, really cool. And is there an energy that you feel like is coming through you in your videos these days, Lisa, that you could more intentionally activate?
Well, the activation is actually the word that came up to describe the energy that I feel like I'm wanting to, yeah, wake people up, activate. Yeah, and maybe you can help me further define what that energy is.
Yeah, well, there's a feeling to it already. I wonder if you start opening to the question of like, what am I called to activate in people today? Like, I wonder if that's a question.
What am I called to activate in people today? Okay. Okay. Courage.
Cool. Cool. Okay. So there's the lady in the background. I'm like,
sorry.
Encouragement as well.
It's so perfect though. I was like, go, go, go. That's the energy.
Go. Okay, courage, and also like, go do it or whatever. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay, yeah, courage. So thinking of courage. So, okay, then how do you activate courage before that, like in yourself maybe, or just in your thoughts, connect with that courage? And it could even be, how do I want to activate courage in people today? Like, who knows? Really great questions and really great conversation, because we all have a message that we want to be sharing whenever it's time to share a message. So tapping into the energy of what that is and then activating that is a powerful way to activate the expression of that message. Makes so much sense. Cool. I love that, the cheering just happens in the background.
I was outside of a Taekwondo studio.
Oh my God.
There's kids class going on.
That is awesome. I'm like, I'm getting a transmission and an activation just listening to you or what's happening around you. Cool. All right. So let's move on. So 3 is a big one, and it speaks to a lot of what people here are wanting. So spent a little more time on that one. Let's move on to 4. For those of us who maybe don't necessarily feel like taking action as much as others. The practice, or, you know, we love being inspired, but maybe we don't move our feet in the direction of what we need to do. So 4, obviously when you have 4, you're inspired by to-do lists. I have seen that a lot. It's something I am inspired by that quality, but not a to-do list, or even checking a box. So, however, for all of us, for those who have 4, it's really important to start thinking of how else can you activate that energy, because it is the energy that's going to have you move forward. And for you, Kim, to actually, what is the energy that's going to help you make the offer? Because the 8 is, yes, making an offer, but the 4 is the doing of it, that you actually do it. So starting to think about that. I instantly thought of what you mentioned before, which is like having those objects. So yeah, having an object that reminds you of the purpose of why you're even making an offer, for example. Yeah, so this is basically what helps us activate inspiration in the form of 4. Well, one of the most inspiring forms of 4 is nature. So if that is inspiring for you, that is something. Being inspired into action. So what inspires, and this is really probably good for all of us, what actually inspires you into the action of the thing you're wanting to do? Because there's the thinking about it, there's the the messaging around it, but what actually has you go do it?
Can you talk about the difference between the 4 and the 8? Like you just said, that one has you want to do it, but the 4 actually has you do it. I feel like if I understand that better, I'll be able to answer your question.
Yeah, well, 8 is very similar to 4 because it's like having 2 4s, but it's not only that. 4 is like the steps. So 4 is typically more inspired to take the action in front of it, where 8 is inspired to get to the goal, which is why you're like, and what is the outcome? What is the goal I'm focusing on at the beginning of the goal? It's more like a big picture looking at the big picture versus the next step necessarily. And 8 might be inspired by the big picture and by the goal to take the step. Whereas 4 might be inspired to just take the step. So what we're contemplating in this moment is how can we tap into what can inspire us to take the step that we are wanting to be taking?
I think for me, when I focus on that bigger picture and really hold that and feel it, to allow myself to, like, in a sensory way, be like, okay, this is what's happening. And then it's just like, okay, this is actually exciting. Now what do I need to do it? So I need to really anchor onto that big picture vision. Or if I'm like super jazzed about a message that I know people need to get, then it's like, okay, this is not for me, it's for someone else. That really gets me out of my comfort zone, because it's like, okay, this is not about me. The universe wants me to, like, for example, talk about XYZ. So I'm doing it for that reason. So then it's like, okay, do the steps.
Great. So it sounds like your inspiration comes from a bigger place, but then it sort of comes down into an action that makes you move.
Yeah.
There's a question I wrote down when you were talking, which is, what is my next step? Sometimes just even knowing what it is. So if you're tapping into this energy that's inspiring you, and then just asking yourself the question, what is my next step? Because often, and especially for the big picture people, it's so vast, but then we don't necessarily move because we're not even aware of what that tiny little step is in front of us.
Oh, totally. And that's what I'm experiencing with my work and my scaling. It's like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Right, exactly. What's the next step? So that's a powerful question that can help. But so there's like the energy of inspiration. So those of us who don't have 4 are not going to be inspired by what is my next step. 4 might be. So it might be like a 2-step process, for example, of sorry, I'm just going to mute you, Lisa, for a sec. Tap into whatever your form of inspiration is, like if it's 1 or 3 or whatever, and then what is my next step? Because then we've got the energy there, and then we've got that tiny little question of what is my next step, which isn't a project. Your next step is never a project. It's a first step on that project or a next step on that project. Did you want to share something, Lisa? Okay.
Sorry, I don't know how I got unmuted. I apologize.
All good. I can.
No, yeah, I really appreciate though that distinction of like just what is the next step.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and I think we can all benefit from that medicine and asking ourselves it versus asking a 4. That might not give us the answer we want. Okay, cool. Let's move on to 5. 5 is very similar to 3 and even 1, but it's this energy of aliveness, of transformation, of healing, of change, of variety. What is fresh and new fuels and inspires the 5. Change, newness. See you later, Kim. Yeah, change, newness, freshness, aliveness, vitality, all of these things. So what is inspiring for the 5 is feeling alive, fresh and the new. So what are some things that can be done if you want to activate 5? And I think we've got a lot of 5 here today. Well, Kim jumped off, she doesn't have a 5. So now we have lots of 5. So yeah, so what are some things, let's just maybe do a little brainstorming around this. I know for me, I'll go for a walk. Being outside really inspires my 5. I ask the question, what has life? And that tends to inspire all of my gifts for some reason. It's like one of those powerful questions that activates all of them. Anyone else?
I like to ask, how can I do it in a different way?
Cool.
Like sometimes you're inspired to do it the same way that you've done it before, or you've seen someone else do it. And I like to think about, okay, cool. Well, they did it like that, but how could I do it differently that would fit better?
Cool.
And I also like to think about, and I don't know if this has to do with 5s, but I like to think about like a visual model, like how can I create a something that portrays it or shows it in a different way than how I've seen it before.
Cool. Yeah, I can really feel the creative energy as you're speaking. This is I had the same talk that I did over and over and over, and it worked really well. But it wasn't exciting. I had to really try and get excited about it, but I love just to bring that question. If you have 5 and you also have, say, a 4, or you have these really driven energies, or you have to do something that's the same, how can I do this in a different way? It's really cool. It can bring freshness and aliveness to anything you're doing, especially if you want to do something more than once. Great question, Linda. I think for those who have 5, sometimes doing our own work, healing work, transformational work, personal growth is inspiring. Usually I would start my days with that. There's a lot of years where I started my day with that, and it propelled me throughout the rest of my day. All right. So, Lisa. Oh.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm on my iPhone on Zoom, and it has a couple subtleties to the way it
Right.
works. So I apologize.
Oh, good.
So I think this is what you're talking about, but like me actually getting on this call and then getting in my car and coming to the lake to walk, like I feel like I'm a big fat rebel.
Right.
You know, and that feels inspiring to me to like look at my calendar with all these blocks of time of things I'm supposed to do, and like this one looked like I was supposed to sit at my desk, you know,
Right.
and I didn't want to sit at my desk, and I don't have to sit at my desk, and so it makes me just feel so excited to feel, I don't know, there's like a freedom thing that I have, you know, feeling unencumbered, or like I can be independent, I can do what I want, you know, kind of thing. So if I feel like I'm being a little unconventional, there's some kind of activation that I don't know what number it is. I'm still not great. That's why I'm in this program. I'm not great at I don't have them in front of me like I usually do. So maybe you could tell me what's happening.
I love it.
This.
That's 100% 5. Like there
Okay.
is so much energy in you. Like I can feel it. If you were to have stayed home in front of your computer versus you being here right now and by the lake and all that, like there's an aliveness and an energy, like a quality that is very 5 that's here. It's like, yeah, like how, like this is a really, and can you feel the difference in your body and in your emotions, like here versus there? So like think of that kind of energy being activated in your day.
In other ways.
In other ways.
This.
Yeah, well, yeah, in other ways, but also in similar ways. Like I didn't mention it for the 3, but working from a coffee shop is an example of like changing your environment to help activate that energy. So yeah, just there's the rebellious aspect like you spoke to. So how can I do this in an unconventional way? Really cool. I mean, there's birds. It's like I'm hearing the birds. This is awesome.
Yeah, there's birds, there's ducks, there's taekwondo, there's all the things.
Oh my God, it's so good. People are doing exercise in their power.
Yeah.
Ducks and birds.
Nature,
and the sun, right? Like, sorry, I gotta stop this because oh God, I lost you. Zoom.
You did.
Okay.
We can still hear you.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is so awesome because this is all the power of 5. 5 is not the 5 is the part of you that's like, I am not sitting at this damn desk. I gotta go. Like that's the energy of 5, and it's very in the moment. So yeah, like even just asking like, what do I do? What do I need to do to feel more alive? Or like, what do I need to do to like get out of this, whatever, not rut, that's not the right energy, but even just how you're describing, you look at your calendar and there's these blocks of time. That's not 5, right? 5 is what happens when you show up to the blocks of time, and it's like inspiring and transformational. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to activate 5. And this is a perfect example of it. Can I do this from the outdoors? And even just thinking of the quality of the energy you have right now, how can you activate that? So like an example of a question is, how can I feel more alive right now? And it might be that you go outside for 20 minutes and then you come back inside, do the call. It can look any number of ways.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great example. And the birds start singing, and they're still singing because we're 5 is alive, and birds are alive. And I heard birds earlier today. It's just so good. The thing that gets ran over the most, I would say, in business, one of the things that gets ran over the most is the 5. Because it's like, sit down, do work, whatever. And like 5 wants us to get out of the house. 5 wants us to be around nature. 5 wants to do it in a different way. 5 wants to have aliveness, not just sit there and do stuff. So perfect example. All right, so let's see. let's look for, I'm just going to think, let's talk about briefly about 6, because I want to get through the next ones fairly quickly. So 6 is very similar to 2, except it's more community versus one-on-one. So this was where you might want to join some type of group that meets up regularly. Your family, being around your family, connecting with your community. So whenever I think of any of you guys, I have my 6 activated. So instead of just reaching out to anyone, it's like reaching out to a client and checking on how they're doing, reaching out to someone on your team, and really just connecting with your heart. It's also the energy of responsibility. So what's inspiring about that, maybe a sense of taking care of things. So like, what do I need to do to take care of the business today? Like that can actually inspire the 6. Well, let's jump to 7. 7 is like really easy, I think. Those who have 7, it's like, how do I be inspired in the land of 7? Yeah, it's anything. Meditating, pulling a card, asking for guidance, all those sorts of things. This is Kim's Draw in the Magic World if you want more magic. We've got magic going on in there. Yeah, asking for guidance. I often ask, like, what's the message, like what do I need to know that others need to know? And it's a little different than the 3 in that it feels like it's intuitively coming to me. Yeah, having some kind of stone or rock can help with that inspiration. Let's move to 8. So I'm going to kind of go zip through these, and then we'll kind of circle back if there's anything that stands out that you'd like to share or have questions on. Just want to make sure we get through all of it. Yeah, so 8. So 8 tends to be inspired by probably non-standard things when you think about inspiration. So 8 is inspired by results, but it's also inspired by, like, not all 8, but some 8 can be inspired by numbers and tracking results. It can be inspired by efficiency and, like, hey, I chopped that expense and, like, that frees up this money or whatever. 8 is inspired in different ways than the standard form of inspiration, but it's still there. It's the energy that's inside of someone that has them move. Yeah.
That is so not my 8.
Yep, there's different forms of 8. So other forms like empowerment, right? That's a different form of inspiration. And having 8, here's the other form, like thinking of empowerment and Sandra. And I mean, everyone here has 8 except me. Things that piss you off, right? If you're pissed off at something, or like, why is someone tolerating that? Or like, that kind of energy is powerful. And that also is 8. And like, it doesn't have to be this way. That kind of energy is 8. Thinking of in terms of your clients or potential clients, it's coming from that kind of energy. And also redefining what results means. So results, what does a result mean? Like, let's say you have a sale. What does that result actually mean? Translating that. It means someone is getting the help that they need. It means that someone is having a new level of courage. Someone is freeing themselves from stuff that was holding them back. It means, thinking of Lisa, a sale means someone has this huge transmission of permission, for example. Like, what does a result actually mean? And starting to think in terms of that. Or our clients, like, what does it mean when there's a result? Like, think about your testimonials. What are some of the results? They don't necessarily translate to dollars or something that can be counted, but it could be like a reality change. So being inspired by the results your clients have created, the transformations that have happened for them, the transformation you're excited to help create in them. That is also another form of results, which is very different than just looking at the money, right? Which might not be as exciting. All right. So I'm going to keep going through, and then we'll come back for our final discussion. 9. So 9. I feel like, oh yeah, we were speaking to someone who had a lot of 9 the other day, and it was hilarious. I feel like this person would be so inspired to end things. Like, just, there's some 9 energy that's inspired to like cut the ties, move the hell on, end the BS, get rid of the toxic thing, person, whatever. There's that kind of energy in a 9. There's also the energy of connecting to the broader world, being aware of like current events, being aware of suffering that can actually inspire action, inspire doing something about it. Connecting, yeah, compassion, connecting to the broader world and wanting to ease suffering. So if you have a 9 and you think about your ideal clients or your ideal potential clients who aren't clients yet, if you tap into the energy of 9, it can be a huge fuel to get out there and go connect with them, because they're out there and they're suffering in some form that you can help alleviate with the work that you do. Let's move on to 0. So 0 is, it's like really is inspiration in the moment, and it's pure potential. So like asking, what is the potential here? And really, whatever your 0 is next to, because for most people it's connected to something. So for Michaela, for example, if she gets around people, her 0 starts to activate because her 0 is next to her 3. If you have a 0 next to a 2, for example, yeah, you might want to talk to someone and see what inspiration shows up. If it's next to a 1, you might want to start thinking in terms of empowerment or leadership and seeing what shows up. So it's definitely something that is an enhancer and an inspiration that adds to what you already have going on. And then 11 is like pure inspiration. It's also empowerment and illumination, shining a light in the dark. So to me, like when I think of being inspired in any way, you're activating 11, like 100%. 22 is all about people and community and connecting in that, in relationship and in groups, because it's like community, especially 22 becomes /4, which is connecting in person. Like Kim was talking about, having a regular time of connecting in person is really strong. And then 33 is the energy of like double 3, which is like so inspiring and really connects to everything we were talking about with the 3. So let's think for a moment at the piece that you're wanting inspiration around, that you want to be moving forward on. What feels like let's think of questions that you still have, or inspiration you'd really feel like you need to tap into. Perhaps it's a number that we went through quickly, or one from before. Where is an area you'd like to activate more inspiration around, that we haven't quite covered, that we could discuss before we go?
Feeling, if you don't have a 4, which I do not have a 4.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about how the 8 is like 2 4s, right? So can you, like, would it work to, and you talked about it a little bit, but to take this, like the bigger vision and figure out what steps need to happen for it to happen and what needs to happen. I feel like I try to do that, but when I do, I get kind of overwhelmed because it feels like there's a million steps that need to happen.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So if you have 8, but you don't have a 1 or a 4, how do you tap into the 8, or where can you find it?
Yeah. So we're still talking about like taking the steps. So
yeah, like especially taking the actions on the things that I'm not naturally inspired to do.
Right. Can you give an example?
Yeah, like like I love to do Facebook Lives, but it hardly ever occurs to me to have a call to action at the end, like, you know, get on a call with me or anything like that, because I get all excited about what I'm talking about and I forget that I'm supposed to be, you know, selling a program or a retreat or
Ooh.
whatever.
Okay.
So like,
Yeah.
how do you, maybe it's just like, how do you ground all of that cool stuff into the results that the 8 wants? Like I have 8, but I don't know, it doesn't really show up like that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. When I was hearing you talk, it's like you're sharing the excitement of what you're sharing. What popped into my mind is more having a bridge. So keeping that, because I felt all of your 3s. Ooh, I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about. Well, what if the call to action could be seen not as a call to action, it's a step that I keep forgetting to take. But what if it could be seen as the continuation of the conversation? Like, you just talked about all this fun, exciting stuff, and now you're going to get to talk to someone who just like was exposed to all this cool stuff, and then you get to talk about it more. Like, I wonder if you ride that out rather than trying to invent something new.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially because I also have the 2. So,
Right.
Right.
Connection.
So what you're saying is there, like, create some kind of bridge between the things that I am inspired to do and the things that I miss or don't think about or don't prioritize or yeah, got it.
And even redefining them. Call to action sounds like this empty, boring 8 thing when you talk about it. And like, I'm like, crap, if you do this freaking awesome video and then there's no way for someone to, like, let's say there's someone who's right there who watched the whole thing and they're your ideal person, and then they're like, oh, that was great, and then they walk away. Like, there's more there, like there's more conversation. And so what I almost feel is it's almost like a bridge. It's like keeping the 3s going, but moving from 3 to 2. It's like, okay, so I just shared all this awesome stuff, and I know for you it looks different. Everyone's unique, tap into the energy of the individual that you're going to be speaking to. And maybe there's an energetic transition that needs to happen where you start tapping into your 2 versus your 3s.
That makes sense, actually.
And it's different aspects of you. It makes sense also why you'd forget about it. Like, your 3s are like, whoa. And then
yeah.
And your 8 is
that actually makes sense, is to like learn to you know, I have 3 3s, right? So that's always here, it's always big, it's always loud. But if I could learn to translate that or transition that by redefining some of these things that feel like a 1 thing or a 4 thing that doesn't really interest me and doesn't come naturally, yeah, I could see how that could work.
Yes, I'm starting to think of the energy. So there's the energy of the message and the epic quest and all this stuff. And then there's the energy of the conversations that you have with people about it. And that energy is very different. And it's like, before I used to do intuitive business assessments and like pinpoint people's biggest money block. And I loved the calls. Like, I loved them. So it wasn't like, oh, now I got to do this thing, take this step. It was like, okay, here's an opportunity for us to like dive into what's going on for you. And my 7 is like, yeah, let's figure it out and all that. So let's engage whatever is needed for the next piece. Awesome. This is great. Great. I'm sure that inspires ideas for all of us. I'm going to have to reflect on that after. Thanks, Linda. Cool.
Yeah, that totally made sense when you, like, it was just that little switch to go from the 3 energy down to the 2. And I totally see that resonating with Linda. And where it resonated for me is, I think when I got excited in my work about, you know, where to transition from that 3 to the practical, it's kind of when I went to the 6 energy and then took it to, okay, I'm giving you this talk, but then come talk to me as a group now. And then when I did my workshops, so it's kind of the same thing, but on the 2, it was a 6. So it's just giving me ideas now, and the 5 totally fits into that as well. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I love this, Sandra. And everyone here has a 6. So who's here live, there's this, I was thinking about this earlier. There's like, you were in an inner game makeover, Linda, there's these, I did these inner game makeovers, and there was a couple that I did where the 6 was so strong. So like literally I did the offer, but the energy was like, we're in this together. And it was like, we continued the journey together. Like, okay, here we are talking about this cool stuff. Let's now go do this stuff. And the energy of we're all in it together. That's a really different energy than like making an offer, for example. I love it. Great. And Lisa, this is such great conversation. I love it all.
Linda for asking her question, and I think I understand more of what I'm doing so many things differently. And I did a Facebook Live today, as I mentioned earlier. So proud of myself. And like, did I say it? Did I mention it? I did a Facebook Live.
I did it.
I did it. And Linda, watch it, because I think that I did what we're talking about. Like, I definitely said, go, opt in and RSVP for this thing as a CTA, but there also was something that flowed more naturally, which was just like, I would love to talk to you about this stuff. If you want to talk to me about this stuff, like direct message me, comment below. Like, I'd love to talk to you. I'm so enjoying talking to people about this, and so I don't know, it was more of sort of just a genuine, like, hey, anybody who's interested in talking about this and how this might apply to them, like, I would love to talk with you. And it feels like that's what you're talking about, feeling like that it's a call to action, quote unquote, but it's not so formal or stodgy or stuffy or I don't know. Is that what you're is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Well, and like anything, and this is a reminder for all of us, anything that doesn't feel good that we are trying to get ourselves to do, maybe there is another way to look at it. Like how you just talked about it, Lisa. If you want to talk about this, let's talk about it. Like, message me. Like, that's so casual and like very 3. That's a very 3 way to talk about it, because I mean, that's the energy of it. Really cool. So anything we can do to help bring inspiration where there is resistance.
And which brings me to the question that I had, which was, and I think I need help just seeing this in terms of my numbers or whatever, is that I think the thing that I'm looking for inspiration on is faith to keep going with the flow and the inspiration, and that the money will come, or that that it will lead to results if I'm not focusing on the results. As Linda told me, I'm wounded by results too. So so I feel like that's the thing that I'm wanting to cultivate on a day-to-day basis, is like, just keep doing the things that feel fun. Like, I'm doing this campaign right now, and there is like a loose sort of outcome that would be nice, but I don't feel super attached, but maybe what if it didn't happen, I'd be pissed. but I don't know. So I just yesterday I just sort of said, you know what, I'm just gonna, like, it's just an experiment. I'm just gonna keep the faith. I'm just gonna keep doing it, and let's just see what happens. And so I want to keep that activated, and I don't know what the fuck number that is, but that's what I want to keep activated.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, that is a form of inspiration that keeps you going. Like, it reminds me more of the 3 versus the 8. Because, the 8 and it's the 3 and the 1, because you're doing things probably that you haven't done before. You're going into new territory. So faith, the flow, and the inspiration leads to results. Faith, the flow, and inspiration leads to. So what can help inspire that?
Is that a question you're asking me?
Well, I guess it's your question, right? And thinking of your numbers. So we've got 6, 8, 3, 1, 5, 3, 2. What I'm curious about, I wonder if there can be a shift between 8 and 1 because 8 was so strong. Bye, Sandra. 8 was so strong for you for so long. I just wonder about opening the door to 1, which is also very entrepreneurial, but it's not the same as 8. 8 is like watching over all the metrics. 1 is like creating this movement. And it's like, are you coming? We're going this way. That's a very different energy. And so I wonder if you shift the inspiration or the focus from 8 to the 1. So let me know if that's making sense. So 8 is like creating results and where's the money and like looking at the hard outcomes. And 1 is like creating a movement. It's going this way and like encouraging everyone to follow. It's like the influencer kind of energy that you have. And it also is interested in success, but from a totally different standpoint. Can you feel the difference there?
Yeah. Yes.
It's a totally different. I only have 1. I don't know 8. I don't have 8. I just witness it in everybody. So it's like almost that conviction type of energy. And you used a different word. Like
Activation.
Activation.
Courage.
Yeah, activation and courage. So that kind of energy. And it's also the energy of, so there's a lot to this. So perhaps it is shifting gears from 8 to 1, still having your 3,
Okay.
still going with the flow and all that, but you're going somewhere. The thing about, I feel my 1 just activating so much in this moment because 1, there's so much in the land of 1 that can help propel you for greater success. So it's not just likes results, like for sure, but it doesn't think about it because it's focused on where it's going and it's focused on who's coming with me and it's focused on the new things that are being born into this world, the new ways that are needed. Why are you over there? Let's go this way. This is a better destination. Like this is a better road. And it's calling that energy in everyone. So it's highly success oriented because it doesn't want to leave people behind. I mean, it doesn't really care if it leaves people behind, but it wants to do whatever it takes to have people come with it. The right people. It's not, it's not trying to maximize the yeses and all that BS. It's about, I'm going this way and activating as much as possible. It's a good word, that activation word you mentioned. Activating and awakening in people what wants to be activated. It's bringing about a new way in the world, new consciousness. It's evolution and helping people evolve and do things differently. So, and what can be tapped in there is the energy of knowing that people are not, what it's like for people who have not had this activated. And knowing that, because 1 tends to be excited by the new and helping people get to the new. So one of the most powerful inspiration elements for 1 then is really being highly aware of where people are.
Mm-hmm.
And that then it's like, there's a new way. And like, what are you doing in that shit? There's a new way. So can you feel this energy?
Yes, totally. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. And it's actually what you're here to be doing. Like your 1 and your 5 are what you're here to be doing. You're like freeing people to a new way in the world. You're freeing people to their important ambitions that really matter. And they're things that they need to birth in the world. That energy there, the 1 and the 5 is a freaking powerful combo. It makes sense, the word activation, like so much sense. And the 8, yeah, it's there. You're an authority. You're this like powerful person. But the 8 ideally is not driving everything, which I'm sure is where all the wounding came from.
Right. And that's what we're saying is the 8 is what sort of could bring me down or drop me out of what I want to do and can have me questioning and losing faith in my words.
Right. And maybe we could give your 8 an assignment to track all of the results that show up and to notice, right? Like, what is the result? We talked about what a result is. It could be anything. To watch the progress, to like, what are some forms you can watch that aren't necessarily money, but so that it can be cheering you on rather than saying you didn't do a good job.
To track other results other than money.
Oh yeah, this is so interesting. There's this box of journals I'm trying to clear through and shred or whatever, decide what ones are going to the shredder. And today I opened it, and it was this thing that I wrote before I blew up my business model. And it was like, this is, I wonder if I should go grab it. I'll post it after. It was like, these are the metrics that I choose to measure. And it was like purpose and whatever, like there was other things on there. So you could still measure those things, right?
Yeah, okay.
Like, because I was going from this old paradigm to a new paradigm where feeling good was a metric. Like being happy at my business was a metric that I didn't think about that before. How did I feel at the end of my Facebook Live? Right? Like that's a very different thing to measure than how many people signed up for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wonder if it can shift gears a little, because it wants to measure the money only, and it's
yeah. So so when you first said that, I think it was my 8 that was like, "Fuck you, what else matters?" But then I was about to apologize for my language, but I think it's just whoever's listening to the recording. Sorry.
No, Nate, you're all good.
Okay. But then I started to, like, I wrote down, like, we had a bunch of people ask for the recording of this thing we did. And like, that's notable, right? Like that shows
Yes.
interest, you know?
Yes.
I had people that reached out to me on Facebook or made comments, which I don't totally love to watch all that because not everybody that watches and is interested makes comments, but, you know, and then I did this thing and I did a bunch of coaching and just even, and I did get 2 strategy sessions, but the coaching was awesome. So like so that's an outcome, is that I got to do coaching.
Right.
You know, not, you know, kind of and it's nice to look at it apart from what was the outcome of that coaching and did they sign up for a strategy session and blah, 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 blah.
Yes. Right. Exactly. So I love this. These are all things that matter. And when you see evidence of all these things and celebrate it, you're in the energy of faith, which is what actually matters to you right now.
So when I celebrate
energy.
it, I'm in the energy of faith. Great.
Faith, yeah, because you're like, look at this, look at this, look at this. You know, it's like looking for the little evidence.
Evidence, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think evidence is a good word for you. Like, look,
Mm-hmm.
your 8s can start looking at the evidence, not just the money at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that you could measure or watch rather than the results is, what are the actions I'm taking to create results? Right? Because if you don't do stuff, then the results can't happen, or it's harder, right? Like, what are the things you do have control over? So for example, like measuring, and not that you have to measure it, but 8 just often likes to measure stuff. But deciding and celebrating how you do so. How often do you want to be doing things? And you have to be like that, because that might take you out of the flow. But to actually look at, what are the things that I can do that can help create results, and then putting the focus there, because then you're like, I did the thing, rather than what happened out of the thing.
Right. Yeah.
And are there more direct things that you can be doing as well that that lead to people working with you? There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with doing more direct things.
Like
so
what?
Even like well, you did that thing a while back where you reached out to people, getting them into the pods. Like, that's a direct action.
Okay.
Or like, hey, I'd love to speak about this, and I want to, you know, maybe I could do a talk. Like, whatever the thing is that you want to be doing that's going to lead to sales, or that can lead to sales, to start to look at what you can be aware of, or track, or just celebrate that you did. Like, we don't want to get too mechanical there with your 8, but
Yeah, so I did do some personal outreach via Messenger and email. So just looked at the list of people and, sent some messages. So
right, exactly. So that's a great example. I did the thing and I did the reach outs. Like, freaking awesome. So to be tracking, or to be, whether it's tracked, doesn't have to be tracking, but to be watching for and acknowledging the steps you take versus just the results. So I think that's the shift, is acknowledging the steps that you're taking that could lead to results rather than just celebrating the results. Because for you, there's so much joy and magic and like power in what you're doing. Bye, Linda.
Bye, Linda. Love you too.
That when you are doing it, it can lead to results. Like, that is your best way to lead to results, is to be doing your thing and being the influencer.
Right. Well, that's where I feel like that's where I get back into like, well, I need to have faith that if I do these things, that it will get me the money results that the 8 wants.
Right. Exactly. So maybe your 8 can just be like evidencing and watching all the things you're doing and all the reach outs you did. Because 8 likes to do things in its own power. So yes, you did the live. Yes, you did the personal reach outs. Like, and maybe it's instead of.
But the 8 kind of's like, well, that's nice. Let's see what happens.
I know your 8 is like very judgy.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah, there could be some kind of inner game there. Like, just, I wonder, like, is there, I don't know, of like measuring up or doing enough or being measured. I don't know. Like, I wonder if there's something there.
Okay. I'll think about that.
To explore.
Okay.
Because you can, 8 is abundance. So maybe you've been thinking of 8 as like a bank account with dollars in it, and maybe not realizing that 8 is abundance. And abundance is like, oh my God, I'm at the lake and there's birds singing and there's like, the sun is shining, like maybe 8 could broaden a little bit. It's
lighten up, 8.
Yeah, like, you got tunnel vision, 8. There's more than just dollars here. Oh my God. Yeah. I think it could open up, because when it's like this, it's harsh, because all that matters is how, it's like, imagine your daughter, you only cared about what her marks were, and that's it. Like, how would she feel? She'd be like,
is not even anything
you.
that we focus on. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Because it's crazy. In business, it's a little different because you have to be making money to keep the business going.
Okay, I just had an aha. So one of the things I've been saying about unmentoring, because of course my own process is mirroring my work, is that when you're to totally achieve that state that you're looking for in unmentoring, which is like really loving your business, it is about the milestone that you're looking for is not the 6 or 7 or 8 figure income. The milestone is the joy and the fun and the flow that you're having, and that is now becomes your top priority. And if you're willing to make that your top priority above all else, making fun and flow and joy in your business your top priority, then the money will come. So this is what I've been saying. So that's why I think that there's even more attachment to that happening, because I that's what I'm saying, and I've seen it before. But
yeah. And now you're in the testing ground of it, where you're like, I know this, and
yeah, exactly. Well put.
Oh, I get it. So if the priority is the joy and the fun and the flow, perhaps your 8 can start tracking that shit.
Okay. All right.
And focusing on it. Because like, maybe, like, what if, because there's, like, I've been through so many different phases of growth in my business, and whenever I went through them, I would, like, sometimes you have to, like, get to where you're going, but I mean, not sometimes, pretty much always, to get to where you're going, you have to, like, have the energy of where you're going. And so, like, when I think back to when I wasn't making any money at all in my business, I had to get to the place where I would start even picturing that it was possible to make money, which part of it was looking for the little evidence, hey, this person signed up for this thing. and celebrating the shit out of whatever is happening to help
Yeah.
expand it. So,
Got
yeah.
it.
Cool. Well, I love it. This is all awesome and it makes sense, but I love that there's another energy for you to follow and be inspired by, the one, because
Mhm.
it's super powerful, really powerful. And it reminds me of the influencer. It's quite different than the 8.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know
Thanks
how many
for-
people are going to be like, oh yeah, I got to go on Lisa's call because she's going to beat me up and ask me how much my results were. And like, this is not really inspiring. It's not really influential.
Yeah.
What were you saying? I cut you off.
I was just gonna say thanks for spending the extra time. I know we've gone over on our
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, I feel inspired as well. Oh, cool. Well, you're going to have to, this is a big thing. Like, this is not a
Yeah.
fast thing with your 8 here.
Yeah.
Like, you've got
Yeah.
some detoxing to do and some
Yes, I do.
new behaviors and habits to create. I'll see if I
And
can
this
find that
is
metrics
all that I'm
thing.
talking about. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with my stuff. So of course, it's what yeah.
Ugh,
Mhm.
yep, exactly. It's all there. Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have an awesome rest of your day. Are
Thank
you
you.
home now or? it's
I am
quiet?
home now. Yeah.
Okay. The birds are
Thanks
gone.
for tolerating tolerating
Oh.
all that stuff.
It was perfect. That's 5. It was perfect. I loved it. Okay, awesome. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.